Unified. Week 11, Chapter 11. Enlivening the Heart. God knows everything. Every law of nature is part of that thought of God which created everything. The interaction of molecules, the seasons, the states of physical matter, the spiritual worlds, gravity and time, the nature of love, the purpose of mankind, the balance of nature, galaxies, and on and on. God knows it all. He knows it consciously. That is, it is His thought that contains all knowledge. By now you know the logical extension of God's omniscience. You also know everything. You are that one and same thought. Everything in that thought is there for you to know and think. You only need to tune into that thought and ask whatever you want to know. How silly it is, then, that you make mistakes. How silly it is to wonder what course of action is in your wisest interest. The answers are all there. There's no need to guess or fumble. Suffering of any kind arises only when you are untapped into that knowledge. Suffering results from mistakes, and mistakes are not taking and using the knowledge that is yours. You miss the take. Mistakes. Now there is no excuse for errors, or suffering, or simply not living your life to the fullest. You know your origin, and you know your share in God's all-knowingness. Furthermore, now you are in tune with your higher self and that source of all knowledge. With such awareness, every impulse of yours is naturally correct and perfect to bring your experiences filled with all of God's qualities. You may not intellectually understand everything there is to know. The intellect is such a small part of you. It's in your head, while the connection to all intelligence is in your heart. In your heart, you know what you're doing is right, even though your intellect may not understand and may even argue against it. The intellect is limited to the sum total of your experiences. Since you're separated from your higher self, the intellect assumes that you're a separate and lone being. That's fantasy. What your head can tell you is based on a fantasy. The heart doesn't deal in fantasy. It's your connection to your whole self, to all intelligence, and to all truth. It leads you to right action, to fulfillment, to success, and back to wholeness. That's why the emphasis this week is on enlivening your heart. The first day this week, you're to write out a creating formula to do just that. The claim section is simply, I claim now that I enliven and empower my heart to bring me my all-knowing intelligence. Use your quiet period today to discover what thoughts you have that inhibit your heart from opening up to all knowledge. Deal with those thoughts in the fourth section of the formula. After you've written out your creating formula for your heart, become comfortable and familiar with each section. You want to repeat it easily without the paper at least once each day this week. Remember to be centered in your heart when you see or think the formula. Feel the truth as you think each section. The second and every other day this week is your time now to practice a new tool for tapping into that all-knowing intelligence. This new tool is a kinetic signal from your higher self for a yes and a no. Actually, you may already have such a signal. A chill up the spine when you're about to say or do something evil or inappropriate is common. Some people experience sweaty palms or a twitch someplace. These could be various forms of signals from your higher self. You may not remember any now, but as you become more familiar with signals, some will dawn on you. You're in charge of what signals you want. Always remember that. You're not a victim to any particular signal. If you feel it's too obvious to anyone watching, or if it hurts, or if you just don't like it, you can tell your higher self to give you a new one. That is true with all signals, even the main signal from your higher self, as well as the new yes and no signals you learned this week. Now sit comfortably with your head and spine very vertical. Settle down with your attention in your heart. Get your higher self signal and communicate for as long as there is the feeling to do so. Then say, "Dear, name of your higher self, my higher self, please give me a yes signal by rotating my head from right to left 3 times. Sit easily with your head as though it were sitting on a pivot. Don't resist any movement. Let it gently swing to the left and then back to the point of beginning. It will repeat this 3 times and your higher self signal will return. Practice this yes signal several times. When you feel comfortable with the yes signal, say, "Dear, my higher self, please give me a no signal by rotating my head from right to left once." Then relax again and allow your head to rotate to the left and return to its original position. Practice the signals several times. Each day, practice the yes and no signals by demanding the yes and then the no. Mix them up. This week is only to practice the signals. For now, don't ask questions that are to be answered by the signals yet. Just get them strongly perfected so you can read the yes and no easily. Feel so comfortable with them that you can have no doubts about this process. If another signal comes instead of the rotating head, and if you like the signal, go with it. Your higher self may know that another type of signal is better for your physiology. Again, if you can't stand your yes or no signal, you can demand a different one. Do not, however, demand different signals just to test the process. Tests of this type do not work. It'll just make you vulnerable to doubts. Throughout the week, simply be aware that your heart is opening. Trust your feelings. Act on them. Your creating formula is enlivening and empowering your heart. This is the connection to God's thought, which is all knowledge. Its input will be in the feelings of the heart. Enjoy it. End of chapter 11.